Elon recognized the power of cancel culture and what they were doing. I don't think it's the sole component of why he bought Twitter, but you can see him tweeting at Tim Cook. Apparently, the Financial Times reported that he was calling CEOs saying, "Why are you dropping us?" Yeah. I think Elon knows the fear they have of Twitter. I think most of the people listening understand this. If you've got Twitter followers and you have a problem and you tweet about it, that company bends over backwards to help you. I don't like the system. I think it's really dumb.
Wait, hold on. Hold the phone.
You didn't know this.
I've got a lot of Twitter followers.
Right.
I can make problems for people just by calling someone.
No. You can get whatever you want.
Wait, I want what I want.
Okay, so here's an example. If you are boarding a plane, you can just.
Oh, yeah.
I had a terrible experience.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is horrible, and they'll say, "We'll upgrade you. We're so sorry. We'll give you whatever you want."
Wait, you really?
Yes.
I can do this?
I strongly recommend.
We're not going to hear the end of it now.
I was sitting in the middle seat on my flight here, and let me tell you, as soon as I got off the plane, I talked to the manager from Timcast. And I certainly
were you on a middle seat?
I was in a middle seat.
Do you prefer
I
window?
felt like an animal.
Were you Sydney Watson?
Squeezed between two larger people, according to Sid.
It wasn't according. She had receipts.
But the point I was making, just try and stay on subject, I suppose, is when you have a lot of followers and you have a problem with a company, you tweet about it, they will take care of you because they know you can direct a lot of bad reviews, it's negative advertising. Twitter has created a negative advertising space.
I'm going to tweet at White Castle right now. I hate them. They're really not good. I'm not joking. It's inedible. So let's see what happens.
Hold on. You misunderstand, Michael.
I'm tweeting anyway.
Free burgers.
I don't want White Castle with White Castle
sliders.
Yeah,
those little guys.
So
why gotta be
imagine this. Elon Musk has 120 million followers.
Done.
So when he says Apple's pulling ads or Apple's threatening to drop Twitter from the platform, and then he tweets directly at Tim Cook is on blast. His phone starts going, and he's going, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh no, Elon's tweeting at me. Oh man, he's got 120 million followers." What's happened, according to the Financial Times, is that when Elon calls the CEOs, they reinstate their ads, but to a minimum level, to keep the money flowing. These ad networks are terrified of whoever controls the communication sphere, and now Elon has it.
Okay.
Well, it looks like Elon has it, but whose money is Elon using?
I told you not to talk about it on the air.
Global bankers' money that they can turn off your account at any moment, we found with Kanye's situation. So let's talk about who controls social media. It's banking. It's the money.
But you think Elon isn't acting under his own volition?
I think he is within the bounds that he's given, which is this is your US dollar. This is how you get by. This is how you get food.
You're not completely off, but there is agency among the individual, right? Elon is very powerful. This is the point I'm making. He has Twitter. He can wield 120 million followers. That's why they're scared to go too hard against him, because you look at what's going on in China right now. Even with the power and the iron fist of the CCP, people have reached their point. So there are powerful interests. There are people, and it's self-interest too. Like these big corporations, they don't like that Elon can push him around. There are powerful government interests. Look at the Democrats.
They also don't like the spotlight on them. They want to stay like, okay, the reason how it works is with like Black Lives Matter, you don't want to be that one corporation that didn't have that black square. It's much easier to go with the herd because then no one can pick you off. So when he calls someone or puts them on blast, all of a sudden there's no good answer for you as a corporation because now you're like, I'm going to offend somebody, and that's my nightmare scenario.
Their stock price will drop.
Yeah.
Negative
Apple's
press.
stock price, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it did.
Actually, yesterday,
it did
by 3%.
Oh, is that right?
I just saw a clip.
Okay.
Screenshot, yeah.
And they know that, and they're like, a 3% drop is how many billions of dollars?
Exactly. Like how many less iPhones are we going to sell, and how much an ad revenue is that going to, like if we spend 10 billion on ads, how many, or 10 million or whatever. Yes, Apple's stock price is down 2%.
Well, a lot of stocks are down, but seeing the war between Elon and Apple is pretty glorious. It's pretty amazing.
That was like Donald Trump clip. Sorry.
It's spectacular to see because Elon even said, "Hey, if this gets too crazy, if you guys ban us from the Apple store, we're just going to create our own phone."
Which you should do.
Yeah, I think is awesome. And I think the market is going to provide a solution to a lot of the censorious, a lot of the insane algorithms and control systems that is trying to, of course, suck out humanity from existence.
Well, do you think that the government should strip 230 protections from these companies?
I think if we have organizations there using these kind of speech platforms using what is essentially our modern day town halls and censoring people, editorializing people. I think that right there is them taking advantage of a situation. And what should be the larger solution to that? I think, they do have a monopoly. I think it's fair to say that, and I think it needs to be broken apart.
Oh God! Oh my God! Okay, now you
Before the show,
you both can go back to Russia.
Okay. How do you deal with Google? How do you deal with this problem?
State power, obviously.
Yeah,
because they are an institution that is a part of the state.
Right. Wait. I'm not arguing there's absolutely intertwined between them and the state.
Yeah.
You can't break up Twitter. That doesn't really.
No, I'm not saying break up Twitter. Okay, I'm saying stop the government. Essentially working with the government, working with Google, working with Twitter needs to stop immediately and need to be broken up and not have this unfair advantage that the government gives them.
I heartily endorse literally everything he just said.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I know you got scared there.
I did.
I don't trust me. I don't want more states to solve the problem of the state.
I thought you were getting all Sherman.
No. I'm not getting there. I'm just saying you're right. The state empowers these monopolies. The state needs to stop immediately.
Section 230 is government protection for big corporations to be free from any liability for what they publish, recommend, or otherwise, while they are also simultaneously free to editorialize and promote whatever they want. That is insane. Imagine if we had a law in this country that said you as a newspaper can never be sued for defamation.
But
that's ridiculous.
This is one of the big arguments for anarchism, meaning of separation of government, of commerce and state, for the same reason you have separation of church and state, because we saw it with the pharmaceutical companies, which is this deal on behalf of literally everyone in America, where you're going to make your shot. I don't even know what words I can say on YouTube anymore. And we really needed to rush to market, understandably. We're under an emergency kind of unprecedented situation. But as a result of this, there are going to be no consequences for you if things go bad.
Yeah.
It couldn't even be here's what's going to happen. If things go bad, we as the government are going to make some kind of welfare and pay out for people who had consequences for our wrongdoing. Just like if there's certain other situations, like you're in war and you're a soldier and you come back, we're going to take care of you. They didn't even do that. They're just going to be what? No one's going to be responsible. And that to me is government at its most malevolent.
No liability at all, which is absolutely criminally insane, especially when there are clearly a lot of people getting hurt by this. They have no one to go to. Who's going to be paying for their medical bills? Who's going to be taking care of them? There's no ability to have any kind of restitution at all, which is insane.
Or even acknowledgement of wrongdoing.
Exactly.
Right. Just here's the blank check.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, there's no blank check. There's nothing.
No
There's shut up, get away.
Nothing.
We told you to do this. We manipulated you to do this. We extorted you to do this. We told you can't travel, you can't live, you can't go see your grandma die unless you do this. You did this? You got hurt? Who's responsible? No one. You're responsible for believing us. That's essentially what they're saying at the end of the day here.
Relatively recently in history that they did that too, right? Where they made the
No, this has been going on since Teddy Roosevelt.
I was going to say
vaccine immunity.
No.
Oh no, sorry, monopolies being able to do what they want.
Yeah, in fact, protections are probably the new thing.
Vaccine immunity protections is new, isn't it?
No. Corporate protections. Corporations aren't. What do you know when the first corporation was?
Oh, but this has been issued since the 1890s. I don't know what the first corporation was.
It might be the 1890s around then. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think it's got to be earlier.
Before. Well, the East India Trading Company, I know existed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was like a country, man. That was so powerful.
Basically. But you think you had any rights working for the East India Trading Company?
No, they would issue you script, like their own currency that you'd have to use on their territory to buy food from their stores.
And imagine what would happen if they're like, we want you to go take this machete and go clear bush. Like, what if I get hurt? And they just laugh. How could you even ask that question? Right. Do it or don't eat. Now,
because you're replaceable.
Right.
There's no shortage of people from Ireland or Eastern Europe who's we can kind of fill your shoes.
It's only recently in human history we started saying hey, people should be responsible if they're misleading, if they're causing problems, or at the very least if there is if you release a toy that has an issue that needs to be recalled and you don't, and people get you'll get sued. You're responsible. Someone
hurts you, the party that hurt you is responsible, is liable. The government steps in and says, no, they're not liable. But also, to add insult to injury, they're also acting like the PR agency of Big Pharma. If we look within the last few years, the White House has essentially become a marketing and advertisement arm of Big Pharma and other multinational corporations that they agree with that enforce their agenda. That to me is another layer of communism that we have to deal with that's absolutely insane and needs to stop immediately.
I feel so redundant. He's saying all my things. Like, what do I do here? Like,
I need you here when the statists are here. When the collectivists, when the communists, when the right wingers who want more government here, I need you here. I need you in my corner.
Can we talk
here.
about this?
Thank you.
Oh my God, this is.
Please preach.
Let's talk about this because this is something that blew my mind because it really drives me crazy how conservatives use the word communist in the same way that progressives use the word racist. Just means something I don't like. I was on the Blaze on election night, and Steve Deese, who's a Christian conservative, who I was very impressed by. He was very, very bright. He really kind of understands how politics works. But his conclusion at the end was to have Twitter be run as a public utility by the government. And I'm like, you're fighting communism by having these organizations be run by the state under socialism. That's literally socialism.
And then people take it even further by saying, I think I know what's better for everyone. I think they need this in their life and that in their life. And we need the state to mandate this and this and this. And I'm like, you're sounding exactly like what you're fighting against because the
supposedly fighting against.
Exactly. The leftists are making the same argument saying, I know what's better for you. I know what's right for you. And this is why we need the state to intervene and use their monopoly of violence in order to push my wills onto you. And I'm like, stop violating human rights.
When the conservatives talk about we need to be teaching morality in schools, that's what CRT is. That is progressives teaching their morality in schools.
We'll have a conversation about this.
Okay.
I think you can do something like put Twitter under government control that's not communism or socialism. It may be socialistic, but it would also enshrine, theoretically, First Amendment protections on this platform that's become a weapon for one political faction.
Yeah, but look at like NPR, right? Like NPR is heavily subsidized by the state, and they're so...
Are they, though?
Small, minorly, I believe. It's very low percentage, surprisingly.
Then why are they allowed to call themselves National Public
Why were they
Radio?
called Federal Express?
Exactly.
It's totally misleading, and it should be illegal.
Well, you can't call your there was like an issue calling yourself Bank of something that this was a big issue because it was really
Bank of America.
I've been told. Good for me.
I don't. I think it's weird. What if
you're right? I'm not sure.
What if I called my company official U.S. government post office business or official U.S. government candy? That was the name of my company. I mean, that would have to be illegal. That makes no sense.
It would make the kids change their genders.
When you look it up, and maybe this is wrong, it says NPR does not receive any direct federal funding. It receives small competitive grants from CPB and federal agencies like the Department of Education and the Department of Commerce.
And
so how are they funded? If they don't, do they have advertising
from viewers like you?
I think it's mostly money, independent money.
Well, more power to them.
It's actually kind of crazy where they get the money from.
I don't want to come out and say. I think I definitely agree that the problem is government. I think all power systems tend towards corruption over time.
Yes.
And the problem is that government programs can't fail. They're surrounded by the monopoly on violence, like Luke was saying, and so they can never just stop. So perhaps sunset clauses in anything is like maybe a constitutional amendment. All government programs and laws will have a 5-year sunset, must be revoted upon by the people or something like that.
The problem with that is if you look at like a trademark law, right? It used to be that after X amount of years, a character becomes public domain. And Disney is just lobbying Congress. So Mickey Mouse and Superman, because they're made in the 30s, should have been public domain. I don't know how many years ago, meaning anyone can make a Superman movie, anyone can make a Mickey Mouse movie, and they just keep pushing the bucket down the road because there's such an asymmetry. Disney has a huge interest in this. The rest of us have little power or interest in this. The symmetry is never going to be in the favor of the freedom.
I think in regards to how you deal with a monopolistic social media network, I kind of agree. I don't want the government controlling who gets to say what on the network because that's just another kind of monopoly. If the government was to be like, no, we're going to...
How does it a monopoly? It's just popular. Like it's very difficult to have several search engines because one is effectively going to be much more optimal than the others.
Yeah. And because it's better, it's become... Maybe you're right. Maybe the word monopoly is not the right word, but I feel like Google has a monopoly on internet search. Maybe not because Brave is there. DuckDuckGo exists.
But like if those other things had a competitive advantage for some way, because Google beat Yahoo. I'm old enough to remember Yahoo was the search engine. There was Alta Vista and there was Web Crawler and there was Ask Jeeves. I don't know if those still exist, but the point is Google won because their search results were more useful. So I don't know how you would even beat Google in that regard.
Well, I don't think you can...
What you can do,
what do you mean beat them exactly?
But what you can do is there's that film. Sorry to interrupt myself. There was the film The Creepy Line, which is what they really should be going after is how Google operates. And as an example, if I am searching for, let's suppose the guy, I forget, Robert Levine, maybe his name was, the professor. Let's suppose I'm searching for Hillary Clinton, right? And Google makes it so the top 10 search results are articles that are positive toward Hillary Clinton. And if I search for Donald Trump, Google makes it so the top 10 articles are critical of Donald Trump. That is going to skew the electorate one way or another, and all of us would be oblivious to see that Google has their thumb on the scale. So that is the kind of thing where the government can be investigating and being like, all right, something here is not adding up, because you're acting as a political agency. And in that case, there's all sorts of things that go with it.
All I come to is to, I mean, the audience has heard this before probably, but free the software code.
Yes. Amen, brother.
I agree with Ian on that in terms of, so we know the algorithms that are manipulating us.
Yes.
But not the property line of it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I would bring in experts to talk about what actually needs to be freed. I don't think it's every ounce of lettering in every code base.
You
and every
should have
system.
him on. The guy who he got kicked off of Gmail because of this. Like, he basically did the work, and he's like, for example, another thing he found is like Facebook. They would, if you liked Hillary, they would hit you with, you should go out and vote.
What was it?
If you like Trump,
Robert Epstein? Is that
I
it?
think that's his name. Yes, correct.
Yep.
Hell yeah,
Was
we
it
should have
Robert?
him on. How do we
Yeah,
make
No
he-
relation
You can't
to the other
you
guy.
can't search for him anymore.
Yeah,
What a surprise.
psychologist?
he was
profession?
basically saying that the search algorithm was flipping votes.
Yeah, and the way he described it makes, not only does it make perfect sense, you'd have no way of knowing.
Yep.
There
And
was,
there was even many scientific studies detailing how big tech social media companies can swing elections and help candidates win when they had no chance of winning.
During there were Twitter hearings in Congress. A Republican brought up that when you are in DC and you sign up for Twitter, Twitter recommends Democrats and only Democrats.
Wow.
He was like, why is it? This is what you get.
Well, let's play devil's advocate. It could be that the DC is overwhelmingly Democrat,
Right.
So the odds are, if you're in DC, you want to follow Democrat.
And that's, when I did this phone call with this guy, that's basically what he was saying. He's like, don't you want us to be able to show you what you want? And I'm like, I want to be shown what I choose to watch.
Yeah.
This is the way they think. We know what you want more than you do. Sometimes I get these Instagram ads and I end up buying a UFO and then buying a second UFO because it was a cool ad.
Wait, where's the second one?
at Adam Krigler's house.
It's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Well, this is the second one,
How
technically.
much are those?
It's like $200.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Spin
I saw it on
that phone
Instagram
around.
and I'm like, oh, I want to get that. And so they kind of figured it out. I want something, right? But when it comes to political content, it doesn't work the same way.
Right.
It becomes extremely nightmarish when you start. This is what I was explaining to Dorsey and Vijaya Gadde, that if they keep doing what they're doing, there's going to be. I don't think I said the word civil war back then, but maybe if you go watch the episode, because what I was trying to get to is you're forcing everyone into
it's
boxes.
yep.
You are creating
100%.
polarization on purpose, and they were like, whatever, they didn't care.
But I think all in their defense, I'm using that term very loosely, the thing is with social media and you have these conversations, it works kind of evolutionarily in that anyone's philosophy is going to be driven to its logical conclusion because you run enough iterations that any kind of contradictions are kind of going to go away and you're going to go towards the extreme or the logical conclusion of whatever their premises are. So that is why kind of in many ways this moderate middle is vanishing, because being in the middle is not really a coherent position. It's just kind of a reaction to these two other poles.
Yeah, the middle can be like extreme right, left, really fast, so fast that it looks like it's in the middle.
Right.
So there's still a balance in the extremes if you can handle it. Hopefully most people can. I mean, you kind of have to when you're on social media because it's so extreme. When you log on to Twitter, it's so extreme. Everything is so extreme.
It's like
not everything.
It's like
but
Mountain Dew.
They got me talking extreme.
I'm curious. Some people have suggested that Elon Musk's moves are actually against the right because there's this idea I've talked about. You have two kids. One is covered in filth and dirt and mud, and the other looks beautiful and pristine with a nice little suit and tie on.
Let's call them Ian and Luke.
Ian and Luke. And so, listen, there's a mother.
No, you listen.
Listen to me, Michael. Now, hear
There's
me
a
out.
T in that.
Hear me out. When you approach this woman and you see one child smeared with ice cream all over his
I
face
should
and all
have
nasty.
stormed off. That was my chance.
That was your
I
chance.
Yeah, it was.
blew
It
it.
was.
I blew it.
When you see a kid all messy, covered in ice cream, and one kid who's looked very clean, you assume, man, that kid must be unruly and crazy. That kid must be responsible. In reality, the mom just doesn't give the kid who's clean any treats or reprieve and is mean to him. The kid who's messy gets whatever he wants. They're both actually bad kids. What happens on Twitter is they start removing people on the right. Okay, this is bad, you're gone, bad, you're gone. And all that's left are moderate conservatives to center, like center right to moderate conservative voices. And on the left, they say you can do whatever you want. So you end up with Antifa, violence, extremist posts. So it skews and ends up making the left look insane. Elon comes in, and I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose. Maybe he's just genuinely like free speech. Some people are saying allowing everybody back on who's crazy is going to actually end up making the right look bad because it's going to bring back the worst possible voices.
But I don't think he hasn't. First of all, he hasn't brought back Carpe Donktum, who's like number one on my list, because Carpe Donktum was making memes for Trump. There's no reason for him to be banned. It's complete crazy. So Elon, please bring back Carpe Donktum. You brought back.
Well, he's bringing back everyone. He's bringing back tens of thousands of users very soon.
So is he bringing back
everyone?
Is he bringing up Milo?
Everyone.
Is he bringing back Chuck Johnson?
He did a poll saying a blanket amnesty for anyone that didn't spam or clearly violate the bigger rules here.
Yeah, but
everyone's going to be back.
There's that asterisk.
62,000 people.
Fine. My point is, we don't know that that's going to include the people who were like where Twitter had previously regarded as the worst of the worst.
I agree. Like Jones. He's out or said he wouldn't bring him back.
Right.
Does this mean he will?
That was interesting. Someone asked Elon, I think it was Viva Frey, maybe Frey. David, how do you say your last name, Frey? If he would bring back Alex, and he was like, no, I have no respect for people that would. I'm paraphrasing what Elon's response was in text, that he values children, and anyone that would demean and use children for political gain or power, he's totally disgusted.
That's all of Washington.
And that's an example of like, you're going to let one guy run your social network.
I responded to that. Do you know what Obama did in the Middle East and how many weddings and children he bombed?
But it's an example of like, you let one guy run a network. He has total emotional control of who gets to play.
Well, it's not emotional. I think he's making a coherent, if incorrect in your opinion, perspective.
Yeah, but I think
he's not a woman.
I think he paid the price for saying those things in public and free speech. I mean, he's done his,
can we talk about this? I really, really hate that term free speech. I don't ever use it because it means so many different things to different people. Yeah. Like some people think, oh, if you're blocking me, you're blocking my free speech. It's like, if I'm not letting you in my house.
Left.
No, there's a lot of conservatives who say that too. Oh, I thought you were for free speech, and now you blocked me off your page because I'm an idiot who's babbling MAGA stuff.
Did you tell them that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences?
Well, I can reply them once they're blocked.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the argument, because is it free speech to go on Twitter and say all these racist stuff, and then you get banned? It's still Elon's free speech to block whoever he wants. But then you're like, well, is it a public company? Is it a private company? Now we're in new territory.
Free speech is a principle. It's like an ethic. It's a position that we hold culturally. At least we did for a long time until culture started shifting, I guess. Everybody opposes free speech when you can knock them from power, I suppose, to varying degrees.
I remember being a small kid, being like, yeah, it's a free country. I could say what I want. Now we don't have that.
On Twitter, if you are allowed to go on and say your opinions, as repugnant as they may be, that is free speech. If Elon Musk says some opinions are not allowed, he does not believe in free speech. Free speech, there are reasonable limits, I think is fair. I don't think doxing should be allowed, and that is First Amendment protected speech. But, so, even I am not an absolutist.
Here, let's talk about doxing. If someone's contact information is public, right? Like in a phone book, whatever it is, and you republish that, do you consider that to be doxing?
That's tough.
Right? That's a tough one.
Right.
Is it doxing if someone just Googles someone, you can find their address?
I don't think that actually qualifies.
But I don't like it. I think that's really kind of egregious, and I think you guys would probably agree.
I think it is egregious, yeah.
Right?
The government also sells your addresses many times through the DMV, through private corporations.
Is that right?
And then later you could buy, there's services online where people go and buy government registries and then have people's addresses where people could buy it online and find out where they live.
It's like if I send your address to one person, is that doxing? If I send it to 10, now is that, if it's 100? Like at what point does it become a dox?
I think it becomes a dox when you're sending it to strangers.
So if it's public, does it, or privately to strangers, to people I don't know?
Yeah, I think, or with the intent certainly kind of plays into here. Like this is something, it's not like, hey, wish Ian a happy birthday, send him a card to his address. That's is that doxing?
It's a fine line. We got to respect people's privacy, but also at the same time, we got to respect people's speech. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, because I'm allowed to say what your address is. I'm allowed.
Yeah,
I mean, legal.
In public under the First Amendment, doxing is protected. You can hold up a big sign with someone's address and walk around with it.
It's actually also really kind of crazy. I'm reading autobiography of this woman, Mabel Dodge Luhan, who had these salons in her house in the early 20th century where modernism started. And the articles in the New York Times would be like, Mrs. Mabel Dodge, of 5 East 23rd Street, New York. And it would just have her address there. It's like, this seems like it's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I guess culture is the biggest issue, in my opinion, when it comes to everything. Most of the political stuff we're dealing with, it's cultural. When you have a culture that is cohesive and agrees on morals and ethics, like you can leave your door open at night. You don't have to worry as much about crime. But when you have a society, a country where everyone's just like, you're not a part of my community, I don't know you, I don't care, now you got to lock your doors.
It seems like when you have small localities, there tends to be a homogenization of culture because there's only 70 of us, and we all know where 7th Street is. But as soon as you introduce 100,000 or 10 million unknowns to the culture, you're in a state of like, I can't leave my address online anymore.
We used to have the yellow pages.
Yeah.
Like there used to be books of everyone's addresses.
This used
and
to be the big appeal of cities, that if you're from some small town where everyone knew your business, you could go somewhere and get lost and vanish. And that it's not just a thing for criminals. It could be things like, I want to rediscover myself. I want to create a new identity for myself. I want to get away from this kind of upbringing I had. So this was back in the day a benefit of cities, but thanks to the internet, that's kind of gone away. I don't need to go live proximately to people who share my worldview. I could just find it through social media, so on and so forth. And given how just deleteriously cities have been collapsing in the last 10 years in terms of just basic safety and public services, it's just the question on the table, I think, for many of us is, are cities an outdated mode of organization,
or governments? Because cities have way more government than a lot of other places that have a lot less government.
You guys are minarchists. You said you're a minarchist.
That's the most insulting thing they could ever tell me to my face, Ian.
He just called you gay.
I know, worse than that.
Like you said,
Ian,
you said that social media needs a little bit of government
fighting
oversight.
Words. Those are fighting words.
Earlier, I think you were saying about Twitter that
my goodness.
Maybe are you indicating
I have a machete here.
You're down to break up monopolies with government? Is that what you're like? You said earlier that you want the government to be involved with social media.
I love this show so much.
Do you see what I have to deal with every day?
Well, you've told me you're a minarchist.
Every
I think
day.
we've
No,
been
he's
through
never
it a
said
little
that.
bit.
I've never said
to
that.
my face here, like 9 minutes ago.
Anarchist, maybe.
But zero government, because then the corporations just take control.
The corporate. Oh my God! See,
Ian,
every day.
Ian, please read this.
I mean, do you think Klaus Schwab has not created a government?
Are you going to talk about roads soon? He's going to be talking
I would
about
be
roads.
happy to bring up public roads.
He's going to bring up roads.
Oh my God.
Who controls the roads?
Hey, if someone,
It's me because I have the most guns.
I'm
Now get off my
deferring.
back.
Okay,
Hey, I
guys,
have to deal with Malice. You deal with this.
One sentence. If you have a job, that's basically a government.
But think about it, corporations
only-
can become a government if they're unchecked.
The only entity or institution anywhere for any reason at any point that could make a road is the government.
And Domino's.
Well, I think that
yes, but that's besides the point.
And
pigs.
Pornhub.
And pigs.
a socialized government can protect free roads for people better than a corporation, in my opinion.
But that's your opinion. Is you sound like Jason Whitlock. Your opinion's based on nothing.
I love Jason Whitlock, by the way.
Your opinion's based on nothing. We can look very quickly to find out private roads versus public roads and how safe they are, how often they break down, potholes, things like this, and it's not even a question. It costs.
Well, hold on. When the government builds the road, there's a simple solution to the potholes. KFC comes in and fills them and then puts the
Domino's.
KFC. It was Domino's who
Yeah.
did that?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yes, what you were saying.
I think the evidence would be that corporations are authoritarian by nature. You have one person in control that decides who stays, who goes. And if they control a busy roadway.
Now I'm triggered.
You do this. I can't help it. I deal with this every day. Your turn.
So a busy roadway, for instance, if Google owned, I-77.
I'd rather talk to Kanye.
Most people might agree with you.
You have an opportunity. He's going to storm out.
Yeah. So what do you do if like
we got to both storm out.
if Alphabet or Microsoft owned like I-77 North, and then like tomorrow we don't want any black people on that road, and you're like, where's our government to protect us from this psychotic corporation?
Okay, so let's walk through this thought experiment, and I've never used the word thought more loosely. What do you think would happen to Alphabet if they publicly said, we are going to have a part of our company that is forbidden for use by black people, forgetting lawsuits and discrimination law? Literally, what do you think would happen to that company?
Antifa would show up with crowbars.
The only thing would happen to the stock price overnight.
Well, let's
would
think about
implode.
this. Who controls the stock market? What if people tried to storm the headquarters of Antifa overnight and they have armed guards outside that killed them all? And where's the government to stop that from happening?
I'm talking about this peacefully. Forget Antifa. If a company declares we are not going to have part of our organization accessible to black people, do you think there will be no extreme, immediate consequences for that company?
I would hope that there were, but I think that when Vanderbilt shut off the railroads to New York, there comes times where he had so much control of the system.
I'm not talking Vanderbilt. I'm talking about now.
Well,
2022.
a general boycott isn't enough because it controls so much aspects of society already.
I think this is, you don't even need a boycott, because anyone who's a publicly traded company is there at the behest of the stock owners and the board. So if I am whoever's running Alphabet now, I don't even know his name, and say, first of all, I don't even know how they're going to,
Sundar?
I don't even know how they're going to get this plan through. But if someone, if Elon Musk tomorrow says, all right, here's the new rule on Twitter. No one who's black can be on Twitter. And that even includes, what's his name? Sean, whatever.
Sean
King.
Sean King. Even Sean King. You're not
Talcum
allowed.
X.
Talcum X. Thank you. He's not allowed on Twitter. The number of audience would implode. The number of news articles would be through the roof, and the stock price would be nothing. And all that money that he's owed, I don't know how that would work, but those banks would call in that debt.
Yeah, it'd be
immediately.
panic.
So you might be right because of the emotional charge about racism. You're right. There could be reactions. Now let's take something more insidious. BlackRock wants to buy farmland in the United States. What if they buy it all? Where's our government protection?
Do you understand what determines price?
Ideally,
No, not ideally.
supply and demand. But
Right.
I mean, it's
So as the-
literally.
it's who, if they're colluding, they can. The government decides you can't stop. You can't set your prices. We have protections so that
there's
the
no
corporations aren't deciding what the price is.
Wait. So if I am buying, let's suppose just eggs, right? The more eggs I buy, the higher the price of eggs becomes, right? And then it becomes asymptotic, right?
In like a mechanical system that's supposed to happen.
But real estate is a great example of this, like Austin and New York. As more and more people are trying to buy real estate, the prices are extremely quickly increasing, right?
Yeah.
We know this. So
Taylor Swift tickets.
yeah, right. I don't know how much farmland there is in America. It's a lot. But at a certain point, the costs are going to increase very, very high. And BlackRock, if they're not earning a return on their, I'm not a fan of BlackRock, by the way. I'm not saying this is something we should be like applauding. I'm just saying there are mechanisms already in place that the idea that BlackRock can buy America, I don't even know how much the cost of America would be. It just would be insane.
And I want to point out too, your concerns about BlackRock are based on the fact that they get free money from the government.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
or
that's
just
what-
from the
that's what they're
federal.
arguing
It's not the
against.
government. I mean, it's the Bank
So
for
you want
International
more
Settlements.
government to deal with the problem of government?
No, the government. It's not the government. It's the Federal Reserve and the Bank for International Settlements that are supplying the funds to BlackRock. It's not the American government.
We are in favor of treating the members of the Federal Reserve as war criminals. I think I can speak for Luke in this. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Private company, but
No, war criminals.
they're
War
not.
war
The Federal
criminals.
Reserve is a
They're not
private company.
So
Am I speaking to you?
I'm not saying they're not war criminals. I'm just saying it's a private company.
They're not a private company at all, and they should be treated like war criminals.
Are you suggesting they're a government agency?
I'm not suggesting it. I'm saying it.
No, the Federal Reserve is a private. It's a
No,
quasi-private
exactly,
public organization,
right,
but it was invented by J.D. Rockefeller, John Rockefeller, Paul Warburg in 1913.
Ian, this is the nightmare scenario of when you have this kind of corporate government intertwining, where you have this almost like a Frankenstein creature that's half one foot, half the other, and no accountability, no liability. And that is exactly what anarchists like me and Luke, and anarchists of all colors of the black flag, are opposed to. Because this is what Marx referred to as capitalism.
Fascism. Now, I agree that fascism is the other end of the spectrum, whereas corporatism is equally as dangerous.
Corporatism is fascism. It's just fascism with a better brand name.
Fascism was when you bring government into it. Corporatism could be like John Rockefeller owns every road, and now if John Rockefeller doesn't like you can't drive.
Okay.
That's bad.
How is he going to afford? Do you know how much every road would cost? Like even Elon Musk with $45 billion, that can buy you maybe the roads in like one city.
Yeah, but they know the bankers that print the money, and they can.
But again, that's
all
the Federal.
private
That's the
crap.
Federal Reserve.
Yeah, it's not American government. That's different. It's a private company the American Reserve is given their power to. It's total co-opt of our government.
Yes, that is corporatism.
They're using government, Ian, to do this.
The government is the fall guy. The American Republic is legit.
What is the American? A republic is the government.
It's supposed to smash up monopolies.
Supposed to is a blue-pilled word. Supposed to doesn't exist in reality.
we have antitrust laws to break up, like Rockefeller Standard Oil at the end of the 1800s.
We have
we had to break
antitrust.
it up.
We have antitrust laws, so monopolies will play ball by whoever's in power. Even Teddy Roosevelt and Wilson, who were the first two progressive presidents, both explicitly said there are good trusts and bad trusts, meaning the monopolies that do what we want and monopolies that don't do what they want. This is exactly a mechanism, just like Facebook and Google and other things. Biden will call you up, because he's got these antitrust laws behind him, or whatever other laws at his disposal, and be like, you know what? We'd really like it if you were censoring this misinformation. It's dangerous to our democracy. And they're like, oh, of course, we're doing it privately. But it's not privately, because it's a complete collusion between the state and the free market, ostensibly free market.
Do you think that if government were totally removed and it was just market, that it would work out, that everybody would be happier and wealthier? And
Not everyone. Certainly the politicians it's going to be really hard for them when consequences will never be the same.
I feel like corporation tendency to profit over human goodness is like,
You can only profit
use people like slaves.
Slavery is not profitable. It's expensive, number one. And besides, it's immoral. Would you be buying candy bars from a company that's built on slave labor? Well, the sneakers, maybe sneakers.
I got this thing. It's probably built in a Chinese lab somewhere.
I think everything in here might be like, I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of it's, this table's actually American made locally. But the cameras are foreign made by people in horrible conditions.
Well, that's a problem.
It is, I agree.
That's why we make governments to stop that. In my opinion, that's the benevolence of government, is that it can protect us from those things.
But in fact, over the past couple of decades, the government has been colluding with foreign corporations to sell all of our jobs overseas to benefit China.
It's what Nixon did with Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger. It was an open policy, the open China policy that they implemented. So you got to understand, like, Ian, at the end of the day, all roads lead to, of course, the government abusing its power because they don't need to provide a service based on any kind of reputation or any kind of consequences.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.